Welcome and good morning. I am David Moore, the Lorain County Commissioner, and I will be the MC this afternoon. So what I'll do is, there's a lot of people will be speaking today, so I'll make my comments short. Basically, I'll be introducing the next commissioner, Vice President Commissioner Mary Jo Vassy.
Thank you. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. I know it's a little bit chilly, but the sun's shining. There's no rain, so that should make us all real pleased. But anyway, thanks again for being here. And today we are here to witness the start of a building that will be a legacy left for many generations to come. The start of a major addition to the county. This project would not be if there wasn't a united effort and struggle for the best design, quality material, and the lowest price. We can only hope that we have achieved the goal. Today we should not only recognize our staff, the judges and their staff, all the other departments that will be housed in the building and their staffs, the architects and staff, the construction manager and staff, for all the efforts put into getting the best quality material and the best prices. And, of course, the lowest interest on the money that we had to borrow. The real recognition goes to the taxpayers, those who we work for, the ones that are going to be paying for this building and the services that will be provided from this building. Day by day, we will be witnessing the progress of what I hope will be a building that will not be intimidating to the people that enter, but rather a place of help for those in need, a place of fair, unbiased justice, a place where employees will not only listen, but will truly hear. I was hoping all along that we would not have to borrow any money for the project. Now my hope is that this board, or that those that follow, will be able to pay off the loan before the 20 years and save the interest. This has been an effort striving to provide the best services possible and a building that will be user-friendly for hundreds of years to come. Again, we truly thank you for taking the time to be here. May God bless you and be with you, this building, and everyone that works on it and in it and enters into the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Vassy. Now I'd like to introduce Commissioner Betty Blair.
Thank you, David. Good morning. Thank you. 7 years ago, in January of 1995, the county wrote to the city of Elyria expressing interest in purchasing their 3rd Street parking lot so as to address the county's needs for both public and private parking. We indicated that we were looking into the possibility of purchasing additional real estate in this immediate vicinity, and that the long-range use of this site was the availability in years to come of a possible building location. In June of that year, we again corresponded with the city, advising them that we had acquired the old Y, located on the corner of 3rd and Court Streets, and we're in the process of having same raised. The county also purchased the Hauser and Taylor building located on the corner of Court Street in the alley over there. In 1996, the commissioners conducted a study to determine if a new criminal justice building or other county facility should be located in this area. My former administrative assistant, Gloria Kretler, was instrumental in working on the purchase of the Y building. Former Commissioner Herb Jacoby started talking about the needs of a justice center soon after the county acquired these properties. Both of them are here today. I want to thank them for their help on this project. Stand up, Herb. Stand up. Commissioner Jacoby and Gloria, who just returned from Florida. She brought this weather with her. Today, the future is upon us as we actually begin the process of putting shovels in the ground to signify the construction of this Justice Center in downtown Elyria. Over this 7-year period, much study, work, discussion, rework, and more discussion by many, many individuals has occurred. When you start to thank individual people, you risk overlooking someone who should be recognized. Therefore, just let me publicly say thank you to all who have had a hand in bringing us to this day, but especially our construction team, county employees, Jim Cordes, our county administrator, Karen Davis, who is in charge of everything this morning, special projects, and John Rokesy from our budget department. I'm very proud to have participated in this ongoing process that has led us to this groundbreaking, including the fact that the county is able to make a 50% down payment on this structure from money set aside, and further that we have achieved such an attractive bond rating of AA, which is only 2 notches from the top rating, so that our borrowing of the additional funds was done at a very attractive interest rate. Thank you for coming today to participate in this history-making event for Lorain County.
Thank you, Commissioner Blair. Next we have Judge Glavis.
And they said it wouldn't be done. May 3rd, 2002 is a day that many of us thought we would not see. Thank goodness we were wrong. To those of you who persisted, thank you. I suspect that there is some rather ambiguous symbolism in the fact that when we launch a great new building project, the 2 tools we use are a shovel and a speech. If your comment with this, when this is over, is that when this ceremony is over, well, we really shoveled it, there will be always a certain element of doubt as to what that comment really meant to say. Look at it another way. Life is a process of digging a hole and then building your way out of it. Groundbreaking as a ceremonial event goes back to the early roots of man. It goes back to the tilling of soil and to the time when the idea of digging, of transferring with the natural order of things, seemed terribly daring, a sort of defiance of the gods. So when we dug, which was then about our only civil engineering, we thought it wise also to say a few appropriate words of veneration for the gods, to be sure they knew we were not defying them. I started the practice of law in October of 1959. At that time, the good old courthouse was comprised of 4 courtrooms, 2 general division, 1 probate, and 1 domestic relations. The auditor's office, the recorder's office, the treasurer's office, the sheriff's civil office, the clerk of courts, the county commissioner's office, the tax map office, and the law library. Judge Zaleski occupies at present 1 courtroom. Judge Janis occupies what was the domestic relations court. Judge McGuff occupies what used to be the probate court. Judge Betleski occupies what used to be the commissioner's office. I occupy what used to be the treasurer's office. In fact, my present chambers used to be the treasurer's vault. Shortly thereafter, the commissioners realized that some expansion was necessary, and therefore embarked on a program that amounted to a reshuffling within the courthouse, an additional space resulting in the recorder being moved out of the courthouse, hardly a solution to the problems. The city of Elyria became involved later on in the matter with their Twin Tower proposal. A levy was sought and was denied, with 1 newspaper in favor and 1 opposed. Ultimately, the county administration building was built as more and more space was required. I might add that the county administration building was full and up to capacity on the first day of its opening. The need to expand again reared its head, and the result being what is presently in existence. In the courthouse, 5 courtrooms, the latest one being in the basement. No more room was left, so the Bobles building was purchased and now is partially occupied by Judge Boris, family and juvenile court judge. The rest of the family court, including juvenile, presided over by Judge Lilly and Judge Bazinski, are in the administration building, along with Judge Horvath's probate court. At present, your court system is spread all over 3 different buildings. The movement for a justice center started several years ago. As the momentum increased, so did the problems. Money, location, design, size, politics, you name it. Finally, the problems were resolved, and today we are beginning to realize those fruits. In the past, as you have heard, every time a movement was started, the end result was some expansion. The largest being, of course, the county administration building, and also, as you heard, really not enough. With the proposal of the Justice Center, it looks like we finally are expanding enough for down the road that concerns for its expansion will not be heard for a while. The problem I personally have is to have it finished early enough so that I have the opportunity to occupy space in the facility. I think I will. So Commissioners Vassy, Blair, and Moore, on behalf of the judges and the others that will occupy this Justice Center, we salute you and thank you for providing us with what appears to be a great place to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Glavis. Now, Judge Baczynski.
This is the 4th time Lorain County has gathered for the groundbreaking of a courthouse, or as it's known now, a justice center. Perhaps before we go forward, we might take a moment to review the past. Lorain County was incorporated in 1822, December. At the same time, the state legislature named a 3-member commission to select a county seat. There were 3 candidates: the village of Sheffield, Elyria, and the third, the village of Black River, which subsequently, as I'm sure you know, became Lorain. The commissioners toured all 3 sites and finally decided that the county seat would be Elyria. It was helped in no small measure by a commitment made by Heman Ely, one of the founders of the city of Elyria. Mr. Ely said he would do the following. If this commission would come to Elyria as the county seat, he would agree to build a temporary courthouse and further on his own land, and he would contribute land for the first permanent courthouse. And he further said, I'll give you $2,000 towards the construction of that first permanent courthouse. Stakes were driven on February 14th, 1823, and a wood building was constructed. It was built on the corner of Middle Avenue and Broad Street. The courthouse was 24 feet by 40 feet. It was a 1-story building, a wood frame building. It was 10 feet from the ceiling to the floor. On May 24th, 1824, the first court session was had in Lorain County. Interestingly, although fitted as a courtroom, on weekends that same building was used by the Presbyterian Church. Second groundbreaking in Lorain County. That occurred in April 1828. This was the groundbreaking for the first permanent courthouse in Lorain County. A contract was let by the 3 commissioners on March 8th, 1828. Mr. Ozias Long of Milan was commissioned to build the building. The building was to be 66 feet long from outside to outside, and was to be 45 feet wide from outside to outside. There was a basement. There were 2 stories. The cost of the building, $7,000 from the commissioners, $2,000 that Mr. Ely had agreed to contribute. He did so. The building was drawn by one Samuel Harris of Ravenna. The cost of the drawing for that building, the architecture plans, $10. The two-story structure was a classic example of Greek Revival architecture. It had 8 chimneys which protruded from the roof. There was a cupola on the top of the building in which was housed a bell. The sheriff's obligation each morning when court started, the sheriff had to go and ring the bell. That bell still exists. If you go into the county administration building, you will see that bell displayed in that building. That was in the first permanent courthouse. Elyria at that time was described as follows: rutty roads, stumpy fields, log huts and barns. Wolves, bear, and deer inhabited the woods of Elyria Township. But the little red brick courthouse was described as follows. Symbolically, the courthouse building serves as a sign of order and justice, an architectural manifestation of faith in future prosperity, and a fortress against the surrounding wilderness. First permanent courthouse lasted 50 years, a little longer. For in 1879, the county commissioners entered into a contract to build that building to my rear. Building was designed by Elijah Myers of Springfield, Illinois. Groundbreaking for that building took place in the summer of 1879. Courthouse was completed in 1881. Cost $200,000. At the time of its construction, that courthouse was the most impressive building in the area. Unfortunately, there have been changes to both the exterior and the interior of that courthouse. First thing you noticed is the dome is gone. That was taken down in the early 1940s. To the interior, as a result of 3 or 4 substantial renovations. Much of the ornate woodwork has been removed or has disappeared behind plasterboard overlay. Fireplaces that were there have been removed or they've been boarded over. And the high vaulted brick ceiling, which was there, is now hidden by drop tile ceilings. Today we, for the 4th time, break ground for a new courthouse. Now it's called a Justice Center. Frankly, I like courthouse better. A new Justice Center. It's going to be 224,000 square feet. It's going to cost $46 million. This proposed building has been subject to planning, criticism, and lastly, various cost-cutting measures. Are we doing it right? I certainly hope so. Remember, the courthouse across the street, it's been there for 121 years. And we will continue to use that building. When our new building is completed, will they say, as was said in 1881, the courthouse is the most impressive building in the area? And is that really important? Further, when this building is completed, will they say, as was said about the first permanent courthouse in 1830, symbolically, the courthouse serves as a sign of order and justice, an architectural manifestation of faith in future prosperity, and a fortress against the surrounding wilderness. Now that is important. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Bazinski. I'd like to next introduce Judge Horvath.
Thank you, Dave. Good morning. I'm delighted to be here
at the groundbreaking ceremony for the new Justice Center. After years of planning, budgeting, and meetings, today marks a new commitment by Lorain Countyans to our legal institutions and the administration of justice. In many communities, the symbol of county government is the county courthouse. For many years, that historic courthouse across the street contained all of the courts of common pleas, as well as most of the county offices. Over the years, as our community grew and the role of government expanded, that old courthouse proved itself to be too small to house all of the courts and county offices. As a young attorney, I once was able to make a single trip to the old courthouse and take care of all legal matters that I had. Over time, as the county grew, I then had to go to 2 places. As of today, if I were still a young attorney, I would have to go to 3 possible places to do the same work. Just as the old courthouse once did, the new Justice Center will symbolize the civic pride of Lorain Countyans and the faith that they have in their community. It will not simply be a building to house all the courts in one place. The new Justice Center will reflect for decades to come the importance of the courts of common pleas and the impact that they have on each of our lives. And for all of those who made this event possible, my gratitude and thanks. God bless.
Thank you, Judge Horvath. Now I'd like to introduce the Clerk of Courts, Ron Nabokowski.
I promised Maria and my mom that I'd wave at webcam. They never miss a minute of it. And frankly, I wish this groundbreaking was for a new parking garage, but I guess that's another question. The existing courthouse, as Judge David said, was built in 1881 for $200,000. This courthouse cost $46 million. But in real terms, in terms of the sweat of the brow of the people of this county, that building cost 2.5 days' wages, and this is only costing about 1.9. So I think somewhere or other the politicians have learned some lesson about something. I want to commend the county commissioners for having come this far and produced I think is going to be a great building. I want to commend the architects for a great design. I want to commend, I think most of all, Herbie Jacoby and Len Reichland and George Corey for having the guts to give us a sales tax when we needed it, so we had some money today to do this thing. And now I'm not giving a public prayer and I'm freezing. But I'm going to ask God to help these gentlemen from Elyria and these gentlemen from the county reason together and come up with some solution to this parking problem before we open this building. God bless and thank you very much.
Thanks, Ron. I'd like to now introduce the prosecutor, Greg White.
I don't usually get to speak after the judges speak, but I appreciate as well the invitation to come and express what I think is, or express my congratulations for what I think is going to be a momentous day in our community. We've needed a new courthouse for a long time. Anybody that works around here for any length of time would certainly not dispute that. It's going to be a grand building and something that our community can be proud of, but I think courthouses are a lot like people. It isn't necessarily most important what you look like, but it's what you stand for. And our old courthouse here, the sandstone courthouse, has for generations stood for justice in our community. What happens in that building isn't always perfect, but as a community, you know, we need to strive to see that it is so that all of our citizens, irrespective of their race or their religion or their national origin, can have equal justice as our Constitution guarantees it. And I want to be especially grateful that we have some of our young high school students here today. I know they're cold and they don't want to hear a lot, but long after those of us that are speaking today on this podium are gone, they are going to be responsible for seeing what this new courthouse stands for. And so that there is justice in our community. And so remember that you are here today, and remember that challenge that you have to see that it is a place where all of our citizens can go to seek redress and fairness. Thank you very much.
Okay, and I'd like to now introduce Sheriff Phil Stametti.
I also want to welcome everybody, and I'm the last one to go, so you'll be glad to hear that. I guess this day is finally here, and I know there's been much planning since at least 1996 that I remember. And I would like to thank all the commissioners, Commissioner Blair, Commissioner Moore, and Commissioner Vasey, former Commissioner Herbert Jacoby, and I believe former Commissioner Mike Ross is here also, and any other commissioners that had any input on this, because this is a grand day that this project is starting. Also like to thank former County Administrator Verge Montine. I know he had a lot of input on this also. Jim Cortez, Project Manager Karen Davis. I've talked to her several times and been to a lot of meetings with her on this. Also Budget Director John Rokasi. They've all done a fine job in this. And everybody's put in a lot of hard work on this. I'd also like to thank all the elected officials in the security committee that was put together and the architects for a lot of their input and hard work that they did. I'd like to thank my predecessor, retired Sheriff Martin Mahoney. He put a lot of work into this, and he was in the beginning stages of this planning when I was a captain at the Sheriff's Office. He helped design the civil office for this, the inmate holding areas, and a lot of the security measures for this Justice Center. My Chief Deputy Tim Mahar and Lieutenant Doug Newman, who's my court supervisor, they've had a lot of input in long meetings with myself and everybody else. As this plan keeps moving along, no longer will inmates walk through the courthouse halls among victims, witnesses, employees, and relatives. This new Justice Center will ensure that no contraband is passed or attempted to be passed to inmates. Since September 11th, everything has changed in the United States. This great nation, which was founded on freedom, has been tested and will continue to be tested. With freedom comes responsibility. One of the Lorain County Sheriff's Office responsibilities is to provide as much as possible the safety and security of all our citizens. We still have much planning and work to do in these next 2 years before this facility opens. More plans, policies, and procedures will have to be written, implemented, and I'm sure changed. There will be many sacrifices by everyone, the employees, the citizens, as these changes are made in security proceedings. There would be metal detectors to walk through, x-ray machines to put your purses and belongings through, and these measures are needed to ensure the safety and security of our employees and citizens, just as we've had to do at many of the airports throughout the United States. In cooperation with the commissioners, the county administrator, the employees, and the great citizens of Lorain County, we will all work together to provide for everyone a safe and secure Justice Center. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheriff. What we'll do next is we'll do some groundbreaking, and we'll come up with a closing statement and the retirement of the colors. So I believe the Elyria Catholic Marching Band will play a little music while we mosey on over to the groundbreaking. Hi, guys. Come on down, everybody. You're right. Has everybody got a shovel? Not yet. One more. Oh. Lorain County, are we ready? Yeah. One, two, three.
topping out ceremony, which signifies that the highest point of construction has been reached and completed. This event includes an historically based ritual during which an evergreen tree and the American, state, and county flags are raised to the highest point of this structure. This effort is a gesture of wishing prosperity to the building and safety to those who use it, as well as to recognize the diligence of the construction workers for their care and concern while building it, especially during this severely cold past winter season. The sunshine and warmth today is indicative of the spring season, which we will officially welcome tomorrow. Topping out ceremonies are an important custom in the steel construction industry. However, there are various stories about its origin. One is that the Germans in the Black Forest seem to have invented the Christmas tree custom to celebrate the Nativity of Jesus Christ, and hardly a structure goes up in Germany without an evergreen to signal the birth of a new building. The Swiss also laid claim to the custom of a fir tree to signal the topping out. The American flag was added in about 1919 to demonstrate the ironworkers' loyalty to flag and country. Others believe the flag was first used when steel framing became popular. It was in dedication to good old U.S.-made, take my page away, take the first page, page 2, good old U.S.-made steel beams. The signing of the last beam or girder by laborers has similar traditional roots. So we are gathered here today to add our own personal touch to this topping out ritual and to give thanks to the dedicated employees who have worked so hard and through such a winter to continue to keep this project on schedule. I have an email from my former administrative assistant, Gloria Kretler, from North Fort Myers. She regularly checks the Justice Center's progress on the webcam. Her March 15th memo says, quote, "The Justice Center building is looking good. It must have been rough on the construction crews with all the bad weather you had had." So, your progress and devotion is known in Florida as well. Last fall, we predicted that the topping out ceremony would occur on my birthday, which is this Saturday. So thanks again for all your hard work and for being on time. The citizens of Lorain County appreciate all the fine work that has gone into this project to date. We look forward to its dedication, and we invite you all to move down to the beam now and to sign your name.
What this is generally on these type of jobs, we like to put a panel together that simulates all the aspects of the building. The building's going to be comprised of 2 different colors of brick with various different reveals in that brick. Also, you're going to have sandstone cast into the brick in certain panels. Outside of that, this is going to be the curtain wall system. I don't know how many of y'all have seen the rendering of the building. We have a large curtain wall that goes up the front of the building. It's going to be comprised of this type of material in this color, and then we throw in the different types of glass that'll also be in that panel. On the other side, you'll see there's a louver in place. That's just going to be the typical type of louver that'll be in an exhaust area of the building. We just try to depict all the aspects of the building in this small little mock-up panel, just so everyone can have an idea of what it looks like. What we'll do is we'll just take a tour of the prisoner and we'll go into the secure areas that we've recently completed. Of course, this is the secure sally port where the sheriff can bring criminals down and unload them. The doors go down, everything's secure. From this point, as we go through, everything is secure.
We're going to use combo locks on all the doors. So only then we'll be able to get down here. But this is not, none of this can be open to the public.
Right. What's in here, right?
This is one of the hearts of the building.
Oh, wow.
This is the main chiller room. Suburban piping, process piping's been hard at work down here, as you can see, getting the main part of the building as far as all the under control. We've got 2 different chillers, pumps, auxiliary pumps, everything to keep the building cool and warm as necessary. As the piping or the pumps vibrate, there's enough of a jolt in there that eventually it'll wear out. These are Victaulic fittings. They have a rubber O-ring in here. It'll wear those out unless you have some flexible connector to let things move separately. This room houses the air handler that controls all the airflow in this level of the building. Also, this room contains the fire suppression system booster pumps, domestic water booster pumps. All the main water flow in the building comes from this room.
And as you can see, that's all the pipes that go over to those chillers, conveys through here, continues out down that corridor, and eventually it'll go up 7 floors to the top. Those hanger beams, they'll get fireproofed afterwards. No asbestos. Generally, they come in and they fireproof all the structure, and once these men come in and start hanging pipes, they have to kind of improvise and put their own steel up. As that's not a structural member of the building so much, it's not as important that it's all done at the same time. On the other side of this wall, we've got just typical, I believe it's the sheriffs and the personnel, their locker rooms and things are down there. And around the corner, that's just a general purpose corridor. If somebody comes here, they're going to go through those secure areas, into the secure elevators, right up to the court floor that they're going to be on. There'll be another secure holding facility there. Unlike the way things are right now, prisoners aren't going to be out in the open. When this facility is in operation, once they come in, they're well isolated from everyone else. We're scheduled right now, and we're right on track, I believe, to be turning the building over late spring of 2004. And we hope that the building will be in operation in the summer of 2004. It's going to take quite a bit of time for the county to move in, get all their equipment in place, their furniture in place. So we're looking at, in the summer of 2004.
Lorain County Commissioners, their staffs, and media personnel were treated to another peek at the new Justice Center in downtown Elyria. Ground was broken for the 7th-floor facility May 3rd, 2002.
It's down on the first level here. We have mainly clerical areas. This is going to be the main entrance lobby right through here. We'll have some jury assembly rooms, various offices down on the first floor. As you can see, all the mechanical equipment's well underway. Sprinkler systems, electrical systems are well underway on this floor, and the metal stud wall framing is ongoing as we speak. It's a little congested, folks. I'd like to be able to walk you down through all the rooms, but we've got a lot of work going on right here. But again, this is mainly clerical offices and various administration offices on this floor. This will be open. It'll be a very nice lobby in the building. Very attractive when it's done.
Public comes in right here at the elevator lobby. This is a very limited access floor. The people going to this floor will be just going to the prosecutor's offices or the other services on the floor. So it's not a public floor. Upstairs, though, will be a public floor. The workstation, the furniture will be in these large open areas. There are offices that will line this exterior wall when the exterior wall gets built.
This floor area and the last floor area we were on is a good place to look up in the ceiling and look at the amount of equipment, piping, conduits, all the things that when you walk into this finished building you'll never see again. But that's the heart of the building, and there's a lot of expense and a lot of time that goes into all these systems to ensure that they're proper systems.
Conspicuously missing during this tour was a look at the basement, which will house jail cells and related facilities. Fire safety equipment, heating, air conditioning, and other systems will also be located below ground level. Visitors were told that not much has changed in that area since our initial tour on March 20th of 2003.
what we have in the basement of this building will be the holding cells for defendants coming over from jail or whatever to go to trial. They have their own 2 elevators behind this masonry mass here. There's another one at the other end of the building. They'll be using those elevators only. There will be no communication between defendants and the public or employees. So this whole front here will be a public lobby area with glass windows, seating. There'll be some hard wall here overlooking the courthouse and the square. Behind here will be the courtrooms. There'll be a hallway right down the middle going to that door opening, which is a door opening that leads to the secure holding cell, as well as that secure elevator we spoke of a few moments ago that goes down. This area right here then is the size of a courtroom. Approximately right here to that wall is the facility for the typical court size. And all courtrooms are basically the same size, except for the one on 7th floor.
Right, so that's the largest.
That's the largest one.
It gets a little less busier as we go. That's quite all right. That's typical. For each trade to come in and do their work, we've got about a 2-week turnaround till the next trade comes in. So you can see right now we've got pretty much all the heating systems, fire protection systems are in. Now our carpenters are starting to build walls and set door frames. Come back in a week, this will look like the other floors. Folks, 5th floor is going to be shell space. It's going to be undeveloped. It's going to be for future use. As Bob had mentioned, the planning that's gone into this project not only goes to just tomorrow, it goes many years down the road. And the projected growth of the community and the needs of this building, this 5th floor will be the spot where it will be built out. More courtrooms, the potential of 4 more courtrooms in this floor alone.
So again, the space has been provided up to the year 2025 for all the needs for expansion. But again, this will be all what we call shelled out again. There'll be a vacant space. The elevators will run through this floor. Nobody will get off at floor 5. They'll be filled up as the commissioners say they need more space for more offices or rooms. We can take
I just want to see the highest view. I think it's wonderful. I especially like the view at the front of the building where you can look out around downtown area, especially our historic courthouse. I love watching that brickwork. Every time I come by, there's a few more bricks up. It makes it look real.
Hang on, Lucy.
Folks, I don't know if you all heard, but on a nice clear day, looking due east, you can see the Cleveland skyline from this level. It's very, very nice.
This is the top of everything. What you see over here in this shell area is the top of the elevators, the public elevators. This area here is what we call the mechanical penthouse. This contains all the air handling equipment, machinery, things like that, as well as, again, the elevator equipment for the building. The air handling equipment just serves the top 3 floors. Well, the irony is this, when you take people up on a tall building to see the building, they always look at everything else other than the building they're on.
Most everyone was quick to express surprise at the degree of progress.
Went along real good.
Plenty of room.
My gravity. Everyone hang on.
My gravity.
I need to get right behind you. To run this crazy thing.
Right above our head.
And the answer to the project super's most frequently asked question?
Yes, we're right on our opening date of summer of next year.
November 20th, a group of about 70, including the commissioners, judges, and staff members, took a progress tour of the new Justice Center. The building is scheduled to open summer of 2004.
Please watch your step. This will be the parking area. Right now it's doing well for housing a lot of materials that are for the construction. As we progress through here, this will be the secure sally port area. All prisoners will come in, the vehicles, they'll go into this area, the doors will come down, it'll be totally secure. From here, the prisoners will enter the holding facilities. This is a secure corridor. Upon call, the prisoners will be transported to either the secure elevator at this end of the corridor or the secure elevator at that end of the corridor. From there, they'll go up to their secure holding cells on each courtroom floor. Right now, we're going to enter the holding facilities. The main room that's the center, the island, is the control room. All operations of the secure facilities will be through this room. And rooms for attorney and clients, attorney-client conference rooms. Anything else down on that end of the building is basically mechanical rooms for the HVAC equipment. Right in this room, this is the main chiller room. This is where all the air conditioning equipment is housed. And as we continue through here, this is the public elevators. We have 3 public elevators that will access the basement through the 7th floor, except for the 5th floor. There's no stopping at the 5th now until the future build-out's complete. We're on the 1st floor now. This is the main entrance lobby.
As you see, we have the balcony around the 2nd floor. They'll have a glass rail. We will have then, right in this zone, what we call our secure zone, which will include metal detectors and x-ray machines. Everyone will be going through this entrance on the way into the building. As you come into this courtroom, this is semi-secure. You go to a door here in the back, you will be in a secure zone. The public will basically stay out in that front corridor area. Judge Buzinski's court.
Right now, we'd like to go ahead and take you back into the back rooms where the court chambers and things will be. So please follow me. Again, watch your step, please.
Conferencing areas here. There also may be one room that may be a victim waiting room, just kept aside for the waiting. The only difference between this floor and the 7th floor has a view further, looking out further, that's all. This is the what we call the domestic relations floor. The floor 7 is the general division floor that has 4 judges on that floor. The 6th floor includes 3 more courtrooms actually. One courtroom is for the probate court, and then the probate clerk's office is the far south end, running the entire south end of the building. And the 5th floor is blank. It's an empty floor that we use for future. We built this building for future expansion up to the year 2025. And it'll just be left open or used for storage, or just left open or empty. Again, open office space in the middle, we'll have workstations. Okay. So we divided up into those 3 different departments. The last one will be civil, which will be down the south end of the building. Okay. Again, carpet floors, painted walls. That is an elevator. That's an elevator that accesses the floor all the way from the basement and goes all the way to the penthouse.
Folks, for those of you who look up at ceiling tile and wonder what's on the other side of it, this is a good example of where the money's spent. The cable tray here runs teledata through the entire building. All of the piping, you have domestic water piping, chilled water piping, hot water piping, forced air ductwork. We have several mechanical rooms in the building.
Obviously, we're looking at the first floor again with our balcony, and we're going to be going through the magistrate areas along with their hearing rooms, magistrate hearing rooms. But again, this is, for the most part, what we call our domestic relations floor. Again, the majority of people coming to this court, Judge, I assume would be kind of just limited to these first 2 floors. And we did that intentionally. Though we have great elevators, probably about 3 times faster than the elevators in the administration building. Something like that, you know. At any rate, we even have a monumental stair here so people can use the stairs, just so if they don't want to use the elevators, they don't have to. But we do have those 3 high-speed elevators. We're doing excavation work on the outside. The inside, some of these walls we just walked by in the hearing room have been painted already, and we're starting the ceiling grid. So all kinds of activities are happening in this building.
Right now we're running at full speed ahead. As I've mentioned before, we run anywhere from 150, 175 and more men and women on the site each day. Most of those are Lorain County men and women that are building this building. We're on track to open the building next summer.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. We have a lot of elected officials here this morning, invited guests, way too many people to introduce. I just want to thank you all for coming out. And while we get started here, I want please ask everybody to stand up for the invocation by Pastor Terry Barris, to be followed by the singing of the national anthem by Megan Campana. And then remain standing while we present the colors.
Dear Heavenly Father, we recognize this morning that you are a holy God and one who ultimately administers justice. You are a God of order with expectations for us to conduct ourselves in an orderly way. You are one that acknowledges and appreciates law and order. But I'm also thankful, God, that you are one of mercy and grace and love. So, Lord, we invoke your presence into this place. Let this establishment truly be representative of justice. But as with you, let it also be known as a place of mercy and compassion and grace. Father, I ask that you would give the judges wisdom and insight to preside fairly. Let every man and woman representing this center do so with distinction. I thank you for them, and I ask that you would bless their efforts, strengthen their resolve, I pray. Throughout Scripture, you remind us that you are a redemptive God. You take what is old and damaged and restore it to newness of life. Lord, you told your people through the prophet Joel that you would restore to them the years destroyed by pestilence and plague. In 2 Corinthians 5, the Apostle Paul tells us that you are the one that declares our past to be gone, and behold, all things to be made new. And so, Lord, we thank you for what we see before us, this new Justice Center. And we ask that you would bless it. We thank you for what this place represents. Bless it, I pray. Bless and strengthen those involved. In Jesus' name, the strong Son of God. Amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. Truly, the building of this new Justice Center was a team project that included assistance from the county maintenance, purchasing, office services, budget department, from the commissioners, people in the auditor's office, Mark Stewart's people who attended to the accounting issues, folks in Dan Talaric's office who watched over the bond proceeds and invested them for positive arbitrage, to the people in Sheriff Stemeti's office who were concerned with security issues and worked on the team to make sure that those things were properly accounted for. And for all the people who ultimately ended up being housed here in the Justice Center, for not only working on design issues with the team, but for making a very successful move and thereby saving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the move. To my friends in the prosecutor's office, they were very flexible and fluid throughout the whole event. But there was a smaller team, a nucleus, a core team, that guided the project from start to finish once it was assigned to us. And I'm going to introduce that team to you very shortly. In the fall of 2000, we publicly announced in the Commissioners' hearing rooms to the Commissioners that we would deliver this building on time and on cost. We felt that that was an achievable goal. I remember very shortly thereafter Mr. Innes leaning over to me and saying, "Gee, Jim, I don't know if that was such a good idea." And then later on after the meeting, I remember Mr. Rokersey coming up and saying, "Jim, you really did it now." But there was no fear, no regrets at words misspoken, promises maybe hastily made. It was a realistic promise, an achievable goal, and one that we were fully not only going to deliver on, but we were going to over-deliver on. In November of 2001 at the team meeting, someone there asked about the goal, and I said, "Don't worry about the goal. Don't be concerned with it." There was a little relief on their face, but it was short-lived. Obviously, somebody wanted to know then, we weren't worried about that goal. What was the goal? And after a slight pause, I said to them, "Our goal is to deliver the building ahead of schedule and 10% under budget." The construction manager's rep sat motionless for a while. The architect's rep looked a little pale. We were told it couldn't be done. The project had already been value engineered to death. It was simply not possible to get any additional savings from the project at this late date. After an hour or two of complaining, we adjourned that meeting. We had a couple more meetings thereafter. There was still some more complaining. But each time our response was, if it wasn't a challenging goal, it wouldn't be a goal. We were going to achieve it. We were going to do it. We were going to end this discussion, and we were going to end this complaining, and we were just going to get it done. This was a team goal that wasn't shared with anybody outside that core team. We had made our commitments publicly, but this was a private commitment for the folks on the team. Over the next several months, at each meeting, we made sure the goal was discussed until it didn't need to be discussed anymore. Everybody knew what they had to do, and everybody set about doing it. Not only will you find out that we have met our goal, but we were able, through the Commissioners' programs, to keep over $8 million of local procurement here. 95% of the labor on the project came locally. Everybody participated, and all of Lorain County participated. We made the project look easy, but it wasn't. We started out by losing our crane right after our groundbreaking. For 30 days we had inactivity. Our crane got waylaid on the side of the road somewhere in West Virginia, not to be seen for a month. Really wasn't looking good, and I was starting to wonder about those promises. We had the second snowiest winter on record. We had 2 prime contractors go bankrupt. We didn't get our occupancy permit for the building until hours before we were moving in. Most people didn't know about these things, but the team did. The team worked through these issues. We never lost sight of the goal. We found unique and innovative ways of dealing with every problem that came along. And at the end, to my surprise and amazement, not only did the team meet our goals, they over-delivered on the goal. The new center was moved into several months early, and at last count, they were approximately 11% under budget. I am therefore proud to introduce to you that right now, this team, and I'm going to ask you to hold your applause until they all stand up. Bob Wyckett from Gordon Collins Boswick, Randy Gordon, Gordon Collins Boswick, Rick Sires, R.P. Carboni, John Gregala, R.P. Carboni, John Rokersey, County Budget Director with the County Commissioners, and Karen Davis, Special Project Manager with the County Commissioners. Today I take personal pleasure in commending you for rising to the challenge, for accomplishing more than just the ordinary, more than just a routine, more than just the minimum. If this was an Olympic, you have achieved gold medal status. For the Commissioners and the residents of Lorain County, I thank you and say job well done today. And before I pass the microphone, we have a little ceremony for the Commissioners. In honor of the Justice Center Lorain County grand opening, a United States flag is presented to Commissioner Mary Jo Vasey, Commissioner David Moore, and Commissioner Betty Blair. This flag has been flown to the Justice Center and the courthouse to signify the transition from the old to the new, and in recognition of Commissioners' outstanding dedication and commitment toward continued partnership on intergovernment issues for the betterment of Lorain County. with that, I'd like to introduce you to the Lorain County Board of Commissioners President this year, Commissioner Betty Blair.
Good morning. The quotation from Vision to Reality makes it sound as though we had a great plan to begin with. In actuality, my former administrative assistant, Gloria Kretler, and I took a walk during lunch and decided to inquire about the purchase of the old Y, associated buildings, and the City of Illyria's parking lot. It took quite a while to accomplish the acquisition of these various properties. Our original goal was to provide additional parking with an eye to the future regarding construction of a building. I believe it was former Commissioner Herb Jacoby who began calling this the Justice Center. Thanks, Herb. At the groundbreaking ceremonies, I commented that the future was upon us indeed, and today it certainly is. There were hundreds of hours of meetings as the project took shape. It was completed under the leadership of county employees Jim Cordes and Karen Davis. Thank you for joining us this morning. We hope that you are impressed with this $45 million investment the county has made on your behalf. At this time, we have some gifts for the cities. I'm going to call your name. If you would raise your hand so the parties can find you. Our next speaker that I am to introduce is Lorain County's first woman judge, Judge Lynette McGuff.
Thank you all for coming. You know, this Justice Center began, and I think Betty's right, when Herb Jacoby began to talk about it long, long, long ago. And it is the culmination of the hard work of absolutely everybody. So I want to begin by saying we love our new building. We have bells and whistles that work. You know, those of you who spent time in my courtroom, you remember the 90-degree days in the summer when we opened the windows to let the air conditioning out because we could keep meat in my courtroom. You remember the days in the winter when we opened the windows to let the air in because it was 90 degrees and we couldn't breathe. Our thermostats work. I want to say especially, though, that the process of moving in, the process of getting this task completed, Jim Cordes, this was put on your plate, and you and your team have done a good job. Of course, the commissioners handed this task to Mr. Cordes. Mr. Cordes dealt with the architects, and Mr. Cordes dealt with the design engineers, and Mr. Cordes chaired the meetings. The person who had to deal with the 9 of us, the clerk of courts, the county sheriff, and the prosecutor, you know that old saying about water runs downhill? You know, we're accustomed to running our own departments and running our own divisions. So Mr. Cordes passed the task of dealing with us down the line to Karen Davis. Karen returned our phone calls. Karen listened to us when we talked about furniture. Karen came over when we needed her. Karen still comes, and quite frankly, I hope that with some of the savings, somebody in the administration building will send Karen on a 30-day trip to somewhere warm with a white sandy beach and give this woman a raise. Thank you, Karen Davis. And I hope that you will all take the opportunity to come and look at what we have done in Lorain County. And now at this time, I want to tell you that it gives me great pleasure. You know, those of you who remember when I took the bench some 15, 16 years ago, it was Lynette McGuff, first woman judge in Lorain County, like it was a hyphenated part of my last name. Well, that's not true anymore. We have two other women on the bench, and I'm about to introduce one of them. She was a prosecutor in my office. She was a good prosecutor. Actually, she was a great prosecutor. And now she sits as the current administrative judge in the Domestic Relations Division of the Lorain County Court of Common Pleas. Please welcome Judge Deborah Burrows.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to see all of you. I guess I want to start out by thanking each and every one of you. We've had an opportunity through Judge McGuff to thank the believers and the people that had the vision to put this building together, but there were also many people involved, the public, the people that worked on the building, the people that helped us move the boxes, the people that put the bricks on the building, everyone as a community that was involved in building this Justice Center. And we also would like to thank all of you for building us a great building. Also, some of you probably don't remember, but I vividly remember my first experience in public office as an assistant prosecutor for Greg White, and I had a desk in a hallway with a chair. I think had he had a closet, I probably would have been there, but a desk in a hallway with a chair. So these accommodations are the best I've ever had. I thank you for that, and I plan on being around for a long time to remind the people coming in now that won't remember how bad it was before. I'll be their reminder. I also want to say that I am also the judge that was in the separate building from everybody else. In Elyria, we have a tendency not to remember what buildings are named, but what they used to be. So let me just tell you, the old Bobles building, that's where I was. And I was separated from the rest of the domestic relations court judges, Judge Lilly and Judge Baczynski, and I really never had an opportunity to have much involvement with the general division judges or with the probate court judge. So I have really enjoyed and appreciated the opportunity of all of us to be in one building under one roof. I believe that we can get business done effectively and efficiently amongst ourselves, but also we're able to get day-to-day business done in a much more effective and efficient manner. And I believe that we have many people to thank for that, including the Lorain County Commissioners. I can't say that Karen would probably say it's always been a pleasure working with us, but it certainly has been a pleasure working with her. I would imagine the commissioners wouldn't always say it's been a pleasure working with us, but it's been a pleasure working with them. As in all ventures, there are hiccups, ups and downs, and there are meetings. Some are very cordial, and some, although professional, not so cordial. And in the entire process, I have to say that it did not bring out the worst in people. It brought out the best in people. And I think everyone is to be congratulated for this building. And my staff and I thank you very much for the opportunity to work in such a wonderful working environment. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce one of my fellow domestic relation court judges, and that would be Judge Paulette Lilly.
Good morning. I believe the weather is one of the indicators of what a great tribute this should be to all of us to be able to enjoy this new facility and what it offers all of the citizens of Lorain County. Not to dwell upon the past and the process that brings us here today, but I too need to reflect upon the conversations that I think began in 1996 when this vision came to light among the judiciary as we sat in the old courthouse and began our discussions and more often our debate about how this project could ultimately bring itself to fruition. And then we were a bit skeptical about not only the financial ability of this community to finance such a project of great magnitude, but the ability to coordinate the efforts of everybody to actually see it happen. One of the benefits that I see now is the ability to better track the bar from the bench's perspective. As one of those who were situated in the administration building as opposed to the courthouse, when we were trying to find people to get the work done, we would continuously hear myself and Judge Wazinski at that time, because Judge Boris joined us a few years later, oh, they're across the street. Well, you couldn't find them. It's been a real pleasure. Now you can listen to the intercom and you can actually start to hear where the lawyers are at, because you know at a glance where they are and where they're supposed to be. I need to mention two people among those that I'm not specifically pointing out who from the Domestic Relations Court were instrumental in facilitating from our perspective this whole project, and those are the court administrator, Susan Ward, who I guess fortunately for her and unfortunately for us is not here to share in today. She is in Hawaii with her new grandson, her daughter, and her son-in-law who's in the military, who is now back in Iraq. It's unfortunate that she can't join us and take credit for all that she did in making it a little bit easier for the commissioners and others who are working in this project to deal with us, because oftentimes she served as a buffer in collecting our opinions and then sharing our perspective with others involved in this. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention the hard work that she offered, along with Charlotte Bledsoe, who is her assistant, who again handled many of the details. If I mentioned the entire staff who worked so hard for our sake, I would be mentioning the 200 and some people who are employed by the court who worked to facilitate the move from one building, or several locations in fact, to another. I would like to focus my thanks upon not only those who've already been thanked, but the citizens who really made this financing possible. And through the monies generated by Lorain County and the wise investment of those dollars, that we have been able to now join all of the members of the Common Pleas Bench and others who serve the public so well in a facility that they should be very proud of, that we are very content with. And I'd like to thank all of you and hope that you will have an opportunity not to appear in any of our courts necessarily, but rather to enjoy seeing those facilities so that you can appreciate what we get to appreciate on a daily basis. In a few minutes you will be hearing from Commissioner Mary Jo Vasey, who became one of the commissioners of Lorain County in 1989, which is, but before doing that, I am very pleased to be able to introduce the Southview High School Wind Ensemble under the direction of Tim Civic, who will be performing for you at this time. Thank you.
Southview High School. I want to welcome and thank you for being here this morning. You know, the realization for the need for more space goes back even before 1989, more than 15 years ago. There was a lot of controversy over where the building should be located. I remember Herb Jacoby and George Corey and I formed a citizens committee to review and make suggestions for a location. And I believe that Mr. Jacoby is here this morning, and Mr. Reichland, and I actually took Mr. Reichland's place after he retired. And we were just talking a little while ago, and he was telling me how they had talked about Justice Center or more space. But I'd like to give them the mic just for a minute, let you hear from them.
Well, it's an honor for me to be here. You know, Lynn and I were talking, and we come up with this idea, but George Corey wanted to have it out by the sheriff's office. Lynn Reichland wanted to have it where the old jail was, and I picked this spot, really, because this is where it ended up. The commissioners later on decided this was a good spot. But all I did was think about it. But you know, the judges used to call me over. And I remember Judge Harris called me one day and I says, "What, do you want more money?" He says, "No, I don't want the rain to fall on me. The ceiling was leaking." And I remember in Judge McGuff's office was so small you couldn't get more than 3 people in there. And several judges had the same complaint. And I used to wonder about the prisoners and the public being in the same hallway across the street. And I did a little checking on the security, and there wasn't any security with the judges. And I'm happy to say that the security in this building is #1, beautiful. But I'm really happy to be here, and I have to commend Commissioner Blair, Commissioner Vasey, Commissioner Moore, and their fine staff for putting this together and making such a wonderful building for this to be. And I'm certainly, I used to wish, I retired 6 years ago, and I used to say, well, I'm glad I'm retired. I don't want to be a commissioner anymore. But today I'd like to be a commissioner for one day. But it is nice to be here, and I certainly want to thank the commissioners for a wonderful job they did.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacoby and Commissioner Reichland. But we've got one other commissioner, former commissioner, Michael Latko. Where are you at? He is the oldest living commissioner. Mr. Latko, were you thinking about this years ago when you were commissioner?
I thought about it, but we didn't do anything. We couldn't. I think it's an honor to be here, and I'm very much impressed with what I see. I haven't been in there yet. I don't expect to get in there for a little bit. But anyhow, you did a wonderful job, and I think Elyria and Lorain County should be happy and impressed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Shortly after we started considering the Justice Center, Commissioner Blair was elected. And then we hired Clark and Post to do a space study. There was a user committee put together, and we assigned the former county administrator, Virgil Montine, to negotiate the purchases of like 7 or 8 buildings from Court Street and 3rd Street over here. And our former county clerk is here, and I'd like to recognize her because she was a big part of this too, and a lot of the paperwork. Roxanne Blair. Then a little while after, we had another commissioner, Michael Ross, and with the help of our county fiscal director, John Rokesy, and Mr. Montine again, we started putting money aside for the Justice Center. Mr. Rokesy, I give you a lot of credit because we had to pull some teeth to do that. Thank you. Then came the search for an architect and a construction manager. And I know that there was some debate as to whether or not we should have a construction manager. But today it paid off. I'm thinking it did anyway. We've saved a lot of money, and I want to thank you. Yet another change came. Another county administrator, Mr. Cordez. And Jim was able to step right up to the plate and just get right on the project. Karen Davis was assigned the job for the project manager and worked with everyone involved through the design and the construction. Karen, you, like I tell John all the time, the heartbeat of the county, you were the heartbeat of this building, and I thank you. And thanks to the judges, all the elected officials, the department heads, county employees, construction workers, the unions, the commissioner's staff, maintenance people that worked so hard to get us where we're at today. But most of all, the residents of Lorain County, who's paying for all this. And with that, I present the residents of Lorain County, their new Justice Center. And my prayer is that this building, along with everyone that will ever work in it, will stand for and work and fight for honest and fair justice, and that politics will never be used to interfere with the truth, and that people entering the building will not be intimidated. We should never forget that the final judgment is more powerful than any of us, the judgment of God, which we face every day and we will face when this life on earth is over. Thank you, and I hope that you take part in looking at the building, and I want you to know too that you're not just a part of this history with this Justice Center, but we were all here for the history of the bicentennial. And we have our bells here, the old bell and the bicentennial bell, and I want you to know the clapper's on it today, because when it was at the fair, people pulled the rope so hard that the clapper broke. And so when we brought it to the county fair this year, we took the clapper off so that we wouldn't have another Liberty Bell. But I want to thank Neil and Ron and Ken Carney, the county engineer, for helping my assistant Kathy and myself for bringing this bell throughout the county and to the schools and giving so many people the opportunity to ring that bell and be a part of history. And the kids that rang that bell will someday be telling their kids when it's stationed in here, and they'll say, I had the chance to ring that bell. But then the clapper will be off and nobody will ever ring it again. So if you didn't get a chance, or if you'd like to ring it again, it's yours, folks. And also, I want to thank Joe Rhodes. And Joe has been with me ever since I've taken office and given so many tours of that old courthouse, our administration building, and she's been right there with kids and groups. And I want to thank everybody that's assisted her too. She's a wonderful, one of a million kind of people. I'd like to ask someone to come up and pull out a name. We had a little contest going here. Mr. Reichland, would you please come up?
I hired you from the lottery for that.
Wilson.
Can you read it?
It's on Michelle, isn't it? Michelle Wilson.
Michelle Wilson.
Yeah. Michelle Wilson.
Yeah. Is that right?
You have won the Justice Center paperweight. Where's Michelle? There you are. Thank you, Lynn. There, she has it. Okay.
I should be entitled to half of it.
Lenny said he should be entitled to half of that. Once again, thank you, and thank everybody and every resident of Lorain County. Thank everybody that worked so hard, put so much time in it. God be with you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ron Nabokowski, the only county commissioner that has been former county commissioner that has been mentioned today. Leonard Reichel is one of the finest guys I ever had the opportunity to work with in my life. Lenny, it's good to see you. And I'm happy, very happy to have the opportunity to say a big thanks, not only to the county commissioners, but to the taxpayers of Lorain County for this very nice, very spacious, very beautiful, very efficient building. When Lenny and I were county commissioners, we didn't have a sales tax. So if we talked about a justice center, it was only as a dream. So those people that didn't circulate petitions and didn't repeal that sales tax, and in fact have added to it, a very big thank you. Also, I want to add my thanks to Jim Cortez and Karen Davis and the maintenance department for making the move from the old to the new and efficient and a very painless experience. I want to also thank my deputy clerks for being flexible, calm, and doing such a great job in packing and unpacking during the move. I want to thank the community-based correctional facility residents for their excellent assistance in moving thousands upon thousands of court files for us, and thank Judge McGuff for recommending them to us. They did a great job. Finally, I want to thank Don Rothgary, the former clerk of courts, and Chief Deputy Sally Pack for the good planning and layout of our particular headquarters. Yesterday, I took a few minutes with my staff to brainstorm the things that, a couple of lists. First, the top 10 things that we like best about the new Justice Center. First, number 10, all our legal offices finally are together in one building. People don't have to spend half hour walking from one of our offices to another to do business with the clerk of courts. Number 9 is the freshness and openness and cleanliness of this new building.
Number 8 is the tremendous amount of space, the high-density file system. Courtrooms big enough to handle even arraignments on the busiest days. 7, more than 3 people at a time can now fit in my office for a meeting. 6, security for my employees who used to get pretty nervous on a regular basis. Number 5, the ability to have private conversations when necessary without wondering whether or not we're going to read about them in a newspaper, Chronicle, Telegram, and Journal. We love you guys, but having you on our backs all the time was a little tough. 4th, more and bigger and much, much faster elevators. The public will love those. 3, being on the first floor, a convenience to the public, so we don't even need those elevators. Number 2, the nice, clean vending area and our comfortable new lunchroom. And number 1, windows. And the top 10 things we won't miss about the old courthouse, it looks beautiful. I mean, you look at that building, it's just a gorgeous building, and we loved it. But number 10, we won't miss the plaster falling from the ceiling in the 3rd floor stairwell. Number 9, we won't miss the bees. Number 8, we won't miss the one devilishly slow elevator. Number 7, we won't miss the bats. Number 6, we won't miss tiptoeing through the attic over Judge Janice's courtroom whenever the elevator was broken, which was often. Number 5, the mice. Number 4, getting our hands dirty from files that were stored in dusty old boxes. Number 3, having to squeeze behind the conference table whenever 6 or more of us had to have a meeting. Number 2, having to step over the dirty shoes of a 6-foot 6-inch felon with attitude to get to the restroom. And the number 1 thing we won't miss about the old courthouse, pigeons, believe me. On the other hand, everyone agrees that we do today very much miss seeing our friends in the judges' offices who are so far up and far away. And on a personal level, I got to tell you that I'm grateful never again to have to offer my office to attorneys in big cases so they can have privacy, discuss confidential conversation with the client, or have to give up my office to distraught relatives of defendants who have been sent to prison till they can regain their composure and face the world. I'm going to miss a little bit of that place, but I really love being in the new one. And now I've been here 4.5 years as clerk of courts, and I've been fortunate to serve with 3 fine Republican prosecutors. But I'm glad that we finally have one who's efficient enough to get Don Rothbury's name off the journal entries. And I'm going to give it to Gary C. Bennett.
Good morning, everybody. What a glorious day for all of Lorain County as we gather here to dedicate our new Justice Center. On behalf of the Lorain County Prosecutor's Office, I want to add our thanks and appreciation to the Lorain County Commissioners and all the county employees who took part in the planning and building of this testament to the commitment for excellence of justice in Lorain County. I also want to thank my staff and the county maintenance employees who worked so hard and so diligently in making the move from the administration building to the courthouse to this building happen. Their attitude was never, nah, we can't do that. It was always, we'll find a way to do it. And they did it. Special thanks to Karen, who all it ever took was a phone call and things happened and got done, and we appreciate that, Karen. And it's still happening today, I know, but time will pass. I want to acknowledge the vigilance and diligence that all of the county displayed in completing this project. One particular assistant county prosecutor who worked through 3 prosecutors, and I'm not sure after hearing this morning how many county commissioners, to get this project going is Jerry Innes. Jerry is chief of the civil department. Jerry planned a vacation to New York City before he knew that today was going to be the ceremony. So Jerry's not with us, but all of you that worked on the building know how essential and how involved Jerry was. So I give my personal thanks to Jerry for all of his hard work. We can rejoice today in the dedication of this building, but we must not think of it as a monument. We must recognize that it is a living, breathing building filled with a zealous search for justice. We must not, however, assume that we seek justice only in this building. We must seek what is just in our businesses, in our schools, in our homes, and most importantly, in our hearts. Abraham Lincoln said, "Let reverence of the laws and justice be breathed by every American mother to the lisping babe that prattles on her lap." Let it be taught in our schools, in our seminaries, and in our colleges. Let it be written in our primers, spelling books, and almanacs. Let it be preached from the pulpit, proclaimed in legislative halls, and enforced in our courts. And in short, let it become the political religion of our nation. And let the old and the young, the rich and the poor of all sexes, tongues, colors, and conditions sacrifice unceasingly upon its altars. In closing, when I took office, a very good friend of mine gave me a little prayer from the Old Testament. I'd like to share that and leave that thought with all the judges, the prosecutors, and the police officers who on a daily basis toil for justice in our society. Go now in peace in all that you do. Seek justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. Thank you very much. Our next speaker will be Commissioner David Moore, but before he speaks, we're going to hear from the Southview Band again. And I want to say, after 18 years of being on a Board of Education, I want you all to turn around and look at what's good in public education today, and it's those young people back there. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Dave Moore. I'd like to thank a few people today. First, the county judges. Thank you. The one thing I saw these last 4 years was in our judges that no other county has, and our judges have patience. Okay, they have worked in unsafe conditions for years, and after 10 years, which is how long this project took, they have courtrooms that command respect that is very much earned and deserved. Second, my team, Phil Baptist, Sean Brady, Paul Blevins, and Bob Matakovich, Gladys McIntosh, and Paula Gorda. Thank you for your support and your counsel. And third, my family, my wife Deb, and our girls Alyssa, Jessica, and Sarah. 150 years ago this summer, John Mercer Langston and his friend, Judge Philman Bliss, came together. And they came together, as all friends do, to help. Now, in a time of our country's early age, they accomplished something in 1854 that was historic in Ohio. But what was even more important is that in 1854, and this can be applied today, is men helping each other. Because doing what is right is more important than doing what is politically correct. So 27 years before the old courthouse over here was built, 7 years before the Civil War, and 107 years before I was born, and 150 years before our Justice Center, grand opening today, two guys helping each other made history in Elyria. Would it be appropriate to name this building in honor of these men from 1854? Would it be appropriate to name it after Judge Howard, or would it be appropriate to name it after any one person? Well, today we dedicate this building to all of Lorain County, all their citizens, and let's face it, they're paying for it. The facts are, this new building gave folks a chance to remember the accomplishments of a few of our citizens, and showed our country that anything is possible in Lorain County with a helping hand of friendships. Now what I'm going to do next is there's a couple things I'm going to do. And the first thing I'm going to do is invite the sheriff and the judges up for the ribbon cutting. And while they're coming up for that, I'm going to do a couple of announcements because it's going to be a little chaotic. So we're going to do the ribbon cutting right now with the judges and let's see, the sheriff. And also we have with us, we've had 3 prosecutors when we did the groundbreaking. I see that our federal prosecutor, Greg White, is here, and I'd like to invite him up for the ribbon cutting. And also with us is Gail Manning. I'd like to have you come up and participate in the ribbon cutting. And while everyone's coming up, I have to do a little contest here, okay? So I have to find out who the youngest and the oldest is, because they want to put you in the time capsule.
As we get ready to place some materials into the time capsule, Prosecutor Bennett did a good job. One of our teammates couldn't be here today, and I was saving it to the end to speak to that issue, but he's already done so. That was Mr. Jerry Innes. We'd be remiss in not reminding our team of how important Mr. Innes was to us. Unfortunately, he had a vacation today, and we couldn't have did a lot of what we've done without the prosecutor's office, Mr. Innes, and his assistant, Mr. Flanagan. So a job well done to him. And also to your hostess today. There she is. She's perusing the perimeter. Sandy Strozak and her team provided that. That is your hostess today. She got this thing going and has been doing it. That poor woman puts up with me every day, day in and day out. She deserves another round of applause for doing that. I want to thank everybody who participated and for coming out today as we put this up in the time capsule and your materials. We have 2 time capsules, a 25 and a 50-year one. Hopefully we'll all be here. You're all invited back in 25 years. I'm not so sure about all you coming back in 50. Right? Past moments in time are history. Moments in time to come are a mystery. Our moments today are the present, reminding us that this very moment of time is a gift. Our present moment in time is our gift to the future. From this history, may we learn to better understand our future. Sealed in this time capsule are items depicting the history of Lorain County and its citizens through the grand opening and ribbon cutting ceremony of the Lorain County Justice Center. This date, September 2nd, 2004. This capsule is to be opened by the citizens of Lorain County, September 2nd, 2029. That's the first capsule. With that, I'm going to pass the microphone as you come forward and you place your items. Where are they placing them? Right here. Sorry. Just say a few words if you like, or just put them in and pass. To the President of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners, Eddie Blair.
Thank you once again for coming. I'm just dropping it in.
I'm saying the same, thank you, and I'm just dropping it in.
Well, the 25 is going to be the same as the 50.
Part of our history.
25 and 50, and I won't be here probably for either one of them.
If
everybody knows my sense of humor, they'll enjoy this 25-year one. So.
I hope I'm around 50 years to read this one over here.
Address from the County Auditor's Office, see you in 2029.
Judy Nedwick, Lorain County Recorder's Office. Congratulations on your new justice.
Fill that letter.
Congratulations, Principal.
Okay, do we have more? Okay, we have a few, I guess some folks that could come out. All right, one at a time.
Rochester, Sheffield Village, and Vermillion.
Thank you once again for sharing this moment in history with Lorain County.